Hi everyone, it's Lindy. Okay, so I have a story to tell. Um, you might find it amusing, you might not, I don't know. But I wanted to tell it because there are a lot of people out there that have this image of eBay being completely on the buyer side, which is possibly true, but they are also on the seller side as well. So here's what happened to me last week. To this day, I still don't know if it's a scam or if it was legit, but this is what happened. And I'm going to tell you about it so that you can kind of watch for this, know what the outcome was, etc., etc., etc. Remember those super sexy Pedro Garcia wedges that I sold for $80 on auction? Yeah, it had to do with those. So I had these wedges that were very expensive. I mean, they only cost me about $20 out of pocket, but they were worth a lot. And I ended up letting them go on auction for $79.99 plus shipping, and a buyer won them with one bid, which was still a great turnaround for me. So I was happy to get my money back plus some. Well, I had already had a little bit of a weird gut feeling when, right after the buyer paid, she requested that I mail these shoes to a different address because she said that the address that she had on file was an apartment, and the postman leaves the packages outside of her apartment, and she was going to be at work when it was delivered and she didn't want them to get stolen. Which, I didn't believe it to be a story because it sounds legit, right? I mean, if you live in an apartment, you don't want $80 pairs of shoes to get stolen, right? So she asked me to send them to her office at this address. It was still the same city. It was just a different street, a different suite number. So told her no problem. I'll go ahead and have them sent. So the next day, I changed the shipping address, which you have to be really, really careful of because if you change the shipping address, you can void your seller protection if you change the address. But I still did it because clearly I had a message from the buyer indicating this change of address. So I felt fine doing it. So sent it priority just as I would have before to this different address, and I heard nothing since. Well, then last week, there was a case opened in eBay for an item not received. Yep, item not received. So I went back, looked at the tracking, and sure enough, it was delivered exactly where she told me to have it delivered. And so in the case, I replied or responded my side with the tracking number showing that it was delivered. Then I messaged the buyer because the buyer had included a message that said, I didn't see that you sent it to the address, or she says, I checked, I'm trying to remember now. She said, I checked the tracking and it was not sent to the address that I asked you to send it to, and I still haven't received. Can you send me a replacement? No, I don't have an extra pair of Pedro Garcia wedges just laying around my house. So I told her, I sent her a message back after I responded to eBay with the tracking number. I told her I did send it to the address indicated, and then I restated the address that was given. I even went back and double checked the address with the tracking number just to make sure that I didn't screw up, and I didn't, and told her it stated it was delivered on X day at X time. Well, about an hour after I sent her that message, she opens up another case with eBay asking eBay to step in. And when a buyer does that, that basically indicates that they're trying to tell eBay that the seller's not willing to work with them. Also known as the seller's not doing every little thing that the buyer wants them to do. So I was a little peeved because once a buyer asks eBay to step in my personal experience, eBay always sides with the buyer. It makes it look bad on the seller, like the seller's not willing to do anything. So it was kind of crawling under my skin a little bit, just a little bit. But an hour later, eBay came back with their decision and the buyer won. Go figure. However, I also won. Yeah, that can happen. That can happen. eBay decided to give the buyer back their money and let me keep the money as well. So that leads me to believe that eBay sees that I did everything that I was supposed to do to get the package sent, that it was confirmed delivered, and then they also felt that the buyer was able to get their money back, which I don't see how. I sent it to the address that she asked me to send it to, and it says it was delivered. I guess eBay just wanted to keep the buyer happy. I don't know. But when all was said and done, the buyer did win. The buyer got their money back, but I also got to keep the money as well. So who lost? eBay lost. Surprisingly enough. You don't see that happen too much. At least I don't. But anyway, the whole reason why I'm telling everybody about this is to kind of reassure you that the seller doesn't always get the brunt end of the stick. Brunt end, burnt, but blah. It's to show you guys that eBay is sometimes on the seller's side too. As long as you cover your rear and do everything that you're supposed to do, you have no reason for eBay to side against you. So those things can happen. So I guess in closing, if a buyer ever wants you to change the address, make sure that you save any messages, make sure that you do exactly what you're supposed to do. And for future reference, if a buyer does open a case that their item was never received, as long as you have that tracking number and the tracking states that the item was delivered, you can't really lose. You can't lose. I have had buyers open these cases on me before saying that they never got their item, but it's good to always have that tracking information to prove that it was delivered to the address specified. So as long as you have proof it was delivered, you're golden. Now the big question, was this a scam? I tend to think it was. The buyer wasn't nasty. She wasn't demanding or mean. She seemed like maybe she had done this before. It was just all very, very suspicious to me that she would ask me to change the address to her work address so that she would be able to get the shoes while she worked, but yet she still never saw them. It seems to me like maybe she's done this before. I don't know. So, but this is also a prime example of why I don't like to sell things that cost over $50. Because when you sell things that cost over $50, it attracts buyers that want to pull a fast one. And I never have these kind of problems. But I sold one pair of shoes for $80 and look what happened. Exactly why I don't like selling things that are expensive. Exactly why. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and let me know. If you haven't subscribed to me, I hope you will. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And all of my contact information is in the video description. Thank you guys again. I will see you with my next video. Bye.